Hey, kids! Are you ready to see some cool TV shows?
Yeah!
How about exciting cartoons?
Yeah!
Some radical video games?
Yeah!
And all of it created by real-life actual cults?
No?
Well, we're doing it anyway. Because all over the world, cults and fringe religious movements have figured out something kind of important. Children are the future. So if you want to have loyal followers tomorrow, you gotta grab their young attention today. And what better way to do that than through entertainment? Hi, I'm Paper Will. I make videos about unusual stuff, and today I'm gonna take you through one of the oddest topics I've ever covered: cults that use entertainment to target kids. Puppet shows, cartoons, dance videos, flash games, and more types of media, all to grab the attention of children, shape their beliefs, and maybe get a new follower for life. So sit back and enjoy the kids' entertainment made by cults. This is Iglesia Ni Cristo, or INC for short, and it was founded in the Philippines in the early 1900s, all by a man named Felix Manalo. The official origin story is that one day, Manalo was praying, and he prayed so hard that a voice from the heavens spoke out, telling him he was the last messenger of God. And while that's a lovely story, maybe a slightly more accurate account would be that Felix was a local religious nut who liked spewing crazy ideas, locked himself in a room for 3 days without food or water, had some sort of starvation-fueled fever dream about God talking to him, and decided to start a cult. Who knows which story is true? I bet I do. But either way, INC was begun, and today the group claims thousands of churches, multiple TV and radio stations, the world's largest indoor arena, and millions of members. Even after Felix died, leadership stayed in the family, and now his grandson, Eduardo, runs the church as an untouchable, unquestionable leader. And if you think calling this group a cult is too strong, sure, you're entitled to your opinion. But first, may I show you Iglesia Ni Cristo's children's choir performance of Always Submit to the Church Administration.
Always submit to the church administration. Sing along with me.
You know, I once made a video detailing the complete history of all North Korean entertainment. Go watch it later if you have like 6 hours to spare. And I gotta say, I think INC took a few notes out of their kids show playbook. Big, fake, unsettling smiles, some obviously lip-syncing children, spending way too much money on expensive-looking and unnecessary stage shows. But even North Korea had a bunch of songs that weren't directly about the leader. But with INC, it seems like every other song is named stuff like "We'll Be More Obedient," "We Love the Leader So Much," or my personal favorite, the 2021 cult song of the summer, "Our Beloved Executive Minister."
Now and always be united with you, our beloved executive minister.
Although there are exceptions, like this girl right here, she's an INC youth rapper and against all odds is actually pretty damn good.
With my God is my protector, I will have composure. Share the gospel and be heard all over. On the righteous path that I stride, it will guide me with superhuman energy that He provides me.
Look, in the world of youth-oriented Christian rap made by cults, this is top-tier stuff, trust me. As for INC, it continues to expand globally, building megachurches and recruiting millions of members despite some serious allegations hanging over its head. Remember those parts of the Bible where Jesus is like, hey, love your neighbor, or to forgive everybody is important, or you should love one another? This group does some theological shimmy-shammying to get past all that stuff, and instead prefers to scream at everybody about how much they're going to hell.
But thou shalt be brought down to hell.
Charming. Yes, whether it's at a school, a street corner, a political rally, or just on a ferry boat, basically anywhere people were just trying to have a nice time, You Must Be Born Again Ministries was there to remind them about their inevitable, eternal damnation. In 2012, the group abruptly took up their roots and moved to Wells, Texas, either due to the lowered cost of living like they claimed, or to escape news stories alleging that the members had delayed or outright refused to call for medical treatment for a deathly ill toddler. Don't know about you, I'm going with cheaper groceries, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, they moved to Wells, Texas. And there they renamed themselves the Church of Wells. And this was more than just a name change and location swap. The Church of Wells dug in and embraced a full-on commune life with stricter internal rules, more isolation from outsiders, and some pretty bad allegations of things like criminal trespassing, harassing Christmas parades, disrupting church services, and kidnapping. One thing that's definitely not just an allegation, though, is that the Church of Wells has created the single most depressing children's sing-along I have ever seen. Holy sh**. Yeah, the Church of Wells is really big on self-hatred and everybody being so sinful that they don't deserve love, so of course, they'll bleed that into their kids' media, like in The Night Has Come. This kid in the bright yellow pajamas is all tucked in, ready for bed, but right before he can drift off to sleep, he starts to pray because he's such a worthless little garbage person, at least compared to Jesus.
Because deep down I'm depraved and wrong.
Then, through the magic of 2010 PowerPoint transitions, Pajama Boy imagines that he's hanging out with an angel who is maybe Satan. It's kind of unclear, but the angel keeps tempting the poor kid with things like new toys and fancy cars. But Pajama Boy knows better, that he doesn't really deserve having nice things, so he rejects the temptations of maybe Satan. He wakes up, and that's the end. That's the end of the story. I don't know what we learned here today. The kid certainly didn't go through some hero's journey where he figured out that Jesus actually loves him. If anything, the dream just reaffirmed his concerns about being worthless. But that's what the Church of Wells is telling kids. Everyone's worthless, nobody deserves nice things, and most of us are going to hell. Even members of the church are probably going to hell. Okay, kids, off to bed now. Sweet dreams. Among the many terminally online weirdos obsessed with cults, like me, there's this notion that Japan has way more cults on average than other countries do. Now, that's not actually true, but what is true is that Japanese cults tend to be more noticeable, and there's a few reasons for that. First, in many countries, big mainstream religions provide a convenient cover, allowing some cults to blend into and pose as legitimate branches of those religions to escape criticism. But Japan doesn't really have large mainstream religions, or at least not in the way that we usually think of. Sure, Buddhist and Shinto practices are common. People pray at shrines on New Year's, they hold festivals, they have temple ceremonies, but for the vast majority of Japanese people, these things have become more cultural traditions than religious worship. But maybe the bigger reason Japanese cults are noticed so quickly is that Aum Shinrikyo basically ruined cults for everybody. If you aren't familiar with Aum Shinrikyo, it was a cult led by this guy, Asahara Shoko, who claimed that he had the power to fly, which he proved by, and I'm not making this up, hopping on his butt over and over again to bounce really high, taking a picture of himself in midair, and then showing that picture as undeniable evidence to recruits. And that worked, somehow. And Aum Shinrikyo gained a lot of followers, which enabled him to produce his own original anime series. Looks like this. Thrilling stuff. And it'd be way more fun to watch if Shoko hadn't gone and attacked a Tokyo subway line in the 1990s with a deadly gas attack. This really gave cults in Japan a bad reputation, unsurprisingly, and ever since, when a new cult forms, the people, the media, and the government watch them very, very carefully. However, a few Japanese groups have managed to avoid too much of that negative attention, and maybe none better than Soka Gakkai, one of the most unique Japanese cults that I've ever— Oh, fuck! What the hell is that? Wait a second, I remember you. You're that plushie that I launched a makeshift petition for in my last video. You're the polygamous Mormon pirate king of Beaver Island plushie. Wait, and you're actually going on sale? To be honest, I thought that campaign was way too weird for anybody to back, but oh, you even brought a little ad copy and everything. Thanks. Ahoy, history nerds and lovers of the absurd. Hey, that's my audience. Meet the polygamous Mormon pirate king of Beaver Island plushie. Inspired by James Jesse Strang, a real-life con man who tried to hijack the Mormon church, failed, escaped to Beaver Island, Michigan with some followers, and named himself the Pirate King. So whether you love the historically bizarre or you just like really creepy, unnerving plushies in your room, and who doesn't, the polygamous Mormon pirate king of Beaver Island is on sale from the day this video releases, but only for the next 30 days. Link in the description, so don't miss out on your chance to buy one. And I've never sold merch before because I didn't want to just slap my name on a t-shirt or a coffee mug, but a beaver plushie about a real-life polygamous pirate king, well, if that doesn't scream paper will, I honestly don't know what the hell does. So I hope you check this little guy out. Up close, he's actually pretty cute. Oh, fuck, he bit me! The little fucker bit me! Get the hell out! Anyway, Buy one today on Makeship. Okay, so what were we talking about? Japanese cults, negative attention. Okay, so I mentioned that Japanese cults had to work very hard to avoid too much negative attention, and Soka Gakkai was great at it. Levitation, doomsday bunkers, subway attacks. No, Soka Gakkai doesn't mess with any of that. It's not a crazy cult. It's a multi-billion-dollar spiritual business with a family-friendly face and fingers in a lot of political pies. And at the top of Soka Gakkai was the one and only leader, the visionary ruler, Daisaku Ikeda. Now, Ikeda didn't start Soka Gakkai. It was really formed as an educational reform group in the 1930s based on the writings of a 13th century Buddhist monk named Nichiren. But when Ikeda takes over, Soka Gakkai becomes something totally different. A Buddhist-flavored corporate empire with media agencies, newspapers, universities, and its own Japanese political party. Members are encouraged to form an emotional bond with their leader, often putting portraits of him in their house, chanting together, and joining in meetings where they talk about how great Ikeda is. And despite the group being excommunicated by the priesthood of Nichiren, the very Buddhist leader whose teachings the group was supposed to be based on, it doesn't matter. Soka Gakkai isn't really about Buddhism anymore. It's about Ikedaism. But how do you introduce children to a movement built on the distorted and bastardized teachings of a 13th century monk celebrating a wealthy spiritual CEO who smiles like this? Hey kids, you want to put a picture of me on your wall? Yeah, the only way you're going to sell this is through anime. Naturally, a few of these animations from Soka Gakkai are your predictable kinds of cult cartoons. Glorified versions of Daisaku Ikeda's definitely super-duper true-life story, where he's portrayed as singularly wise, an individual genius of infinite insight and blah 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 blah. Standard, over-the-top cult propaganda. At least they didn't have him using superpowers or astral projecting himself over Japan like Asahara Shoko did. And Soka Gakkai probably couldn't have done that even if they wanted to because, again, they had to be very careful about not getting too much negative cult attention. They don't want to get labeled the next Am Shinrikyo, so instead, most of Soka Gakkai's anime doesn't focus on Ikeda, it focuses on his children's storybooks. There's Princess of the Desert Kingdom, Kanta and the Deer, which has a really fun scene of some deer doing like a conga line. Deer, 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 deer. Deer, 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 deer. Then there's the cherry tree. One about Alexander the Great, which I really liked because for whatever reason, Ptolemy, you know the guy, Claudius Ptolemy, one of the most famous mathematicians in history, gets depicted like a big whiny baby for no reason.
Stop being so stubborn, Ptolemy!
Stop being such a chump, Ptolemy. But whichever of these anime you watch, none of them seem particularly culty when you watch them. They seem like normal kid shows. Like, take this one, the story of Rainbow Mountain. After falling asleep, 3 kids find themselves in a faraway land of magic and set their sights on climbing the dazzling Rainbow Mountain. But after dealing with some setbacks, a wise fairy teaches them how to overcome their hike by using a mantra to give them courage.
Rainbow Mountain, let's go up! Onward, forward to the top!
In the end, thanks to the power of the kind fairy teacher and their mantra, the kids reach the top of Rainbow Mountain, find a rainbow carpet, and cheer for their rainbow happiness. So, what in the hell does any of this have to do with Soka Gakkai or its teachings? Well, let's look at one more anime, and maybe you'll start seeing the pattern. Here's The Flower and the Phoenix. One day at school, a teacher's entire lesson plan for the day is apparently, name your mother's favorite flower?
Class, what is your mother's favorite flower in the whole world?
And the kids get really into it too, maybe too into it, having a big fight over whether bamboo flowers exist or not.
That's because they're fake!
Knock it off! Hey!
You take that back, you little you take that back! This flower fistfight has 0 consequences for anybody, but it does make for a really good segue into the main plot, where our 2 characters go to stay at a grandmother's house to learn even more about bamboo flowers, because that's what kids like. The grandma dumps a bunch of exposition about bamboo flowers and a magical phoenix that eats them, and that night, the phoenix appears, taking the kids off to a magical land, where they learn that the fountain of life is drying up due to pollution and people being mean and stuff. After the wise phoenix gives them some advice, they go to fix the fountain. But first, humanity must be judged worthy by the king of the castle. And, okay, are you following any of this? Any of it? Because if you're not, that's fine. All you really need to know is that this dude right here is judging humanity, and he's doing it by roasting everybody and then throwing them in a dungeon.
You order people around. You haven't found the courage to be honest with yourself. You got into a fight with a friend of yours.
Thankfully, the other main character is a bastion of morality, and through an inspirational speech about giving humanity another—
Get everyone together in there and break the door open!
Nope. He gets the dungeon prisoners to knock over the door and then beat the hell out of this Yu-Gi-Oh! Reject. Hey, that dude's trying to hold humanity to a higher standard and push us to improve ourselves. Let's kick his ass! Afterwards, the kids return to the real world, where they find that the bamboo flowers have blossomed, and the phoenix watches from above. So, once again, there's nothing that screams cult from this cartoon, or any of their cartoons. Kids go on some sort of adventure, they struggle with a conflict, they get advice from a sage, wise figure, maybe they chant a bit, and the day is saved. But have you noticed the repeating themes? First, that wise figure, sometimes it's a glowing fairy, sometimes it's a talking phoenix, sometimes it's a kindly old man who looks suspiciously like Ikeda. These figures always pop up, hinting to kids the importance of listening to a visionary, inspirational figure with knowledge and foresight. Secondly, let's talk about the mantras. We briefly touched on this earlier, but chanting is a huge part of Soka Gakkai. Members are told to chant daily, often for hours, to align their lives with Ikeda's, so it's not a surprise that the usage of chants is visible in their kids' media. And listen, I'm not saying that these patterns repeat in every cartoon, although they do repeat in a lot of the cartoons. I'm not even saying that having wise figures or chants in kids' media is some great evil. But it's clear that Soka Gakkai relies on these repeating motifs to help ease younger members of the cult into the bigger ideas and the community. A community that's very hard to leave when you grow up in it. A community based around loving their immortal and eternal leader, Daisaku Ikeda. Oh, he died. He died pretty recently. But I doubt it'll matter. Soka Gakkai has built up too much infrastructure, too much inertia, and there's too much money involved for the whole organization to collapse even without him. So it'll likely keep chanting along and making awful anime as it does. When Landon and Heather Scott founded the Mercy Culture Church in 2019, their sermons told one message: America directly belongs to God, God's new kingdom would start in Fort Worth, Texas, and Fort Worth, Texas should be under the control of Mercy Culture. And the only thing stopping that is that the city is dominated by evil. And this isn't some kind of abstract, intangible kind of evil. No, Mercy Culture says Fort Worth is literally full of demonic strongholds and actual witches. Whether all of that is enough to get them classified as a cult is up to you, but I think once a religious group is trying to take ownership of a Texan city to fight witches, I don't know, it's cult adjacent, at least. Anyway, welcome to MC Kids. It's a series of half-hour Christian kids shows, each focused on some moral or theme. For example, they'll take an idea like overcoming fear with prayer. Then there's some animations, a craft section, an admittedly pretty funny bit where one of the puppets keeps getting mad that the host can't remember their name.
Hey, Barry.
It's Larry.
Canary.
Larry?
Perry.
Larry.
Barry.
No, Larry.
That's right, McQuarrie.
Get it right! My name is Larry, you stupid bee! And honestly, this show kind of rules. The sets and acting quality are way higher than they have any right to be, and sure, a couple of sections can be a little hit or miss.
El Grande. I'm not scared of the El Grande.
The only thing I'm scared of is acting lessons. But again, most of the show is great. And maybe the show is so good because none of Mercy Culture's more extreme views are mentioned ever. But despite their squeaky clean, decent kids content, Mercy Culture is a radical religious group claiming the government's full of evil witches that are running a city they'd like more control over. In 1986, Gwen Shamblin Laura looked at America's obesity crisis and came to a conclusion. The country's weight problem, it couldn't be blamed on carbs or portion sizes. No, Gwen blamed Jesus. Or she blamed your lack of faith in Jesus or your lack of enough faith to be bestowed by weight loss by Jesus, I think. Look, this one's not going to make a lot of sense. Just go with me, okay? Point is, Gwen thought the only way to lose weight was through prayer and obedience to her. But before we talk about how a religious diet fad ended up as a straight-up cult, let's talk about today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Now, based on my YouTube analytics, a lot of y'all are watching my videos really late at night, like too late. You should really be asleep. And if you're gonna do that, you might as well do it right. That's where the sleep masks from Manta Sleep come in. These aren't your free airplane masks that feel like they were made out of recycled napkins where a bunch of light seeps through. No, Manta Sleep makes premium, fully adjustable sleep masks designed to give you total blackout sleep. Whether that's at an appropriate bedtime or if you just want to get a dead to the world kick-ass kind of nap. You ever have a nap that was so good you still remember it weeks later? Manta Sleep can help you get there. To be honest, I actually hadn't even heard about Manta Sleep until recently when I made a community post asking people what products or services they'd seen in a YouTube sponsorship that they'd purchased themselves and that they could fully vouch for, and Manta Sleep got a ton of praise. So I bought one for myself and yeah, goddamn, they make some really good sleep masks. I've been using mine after late night editing, during traveling, and honestly, whenever I just need a break from the world. And the difference is huge. No more light sneaking in, no awkward strap marks, just actual rest. So if you're part of the 3 a.m. Paper Wheel binge-watching crew, or you're just looking for a better way to nap, do yourself a favor. Use my 10% coupon code, PAPERWHEEL, no space, all one word, buy a Manta Sleep mask, and get some sleep. Now let's get back to Gwen Shamblin-Laura's faith-based weight loss program, which she named the Way Down Workshop. According to her, you didn't need to count calories or hop on the treadmill. All you needed was God. And here's the wild part. Despite how bizarre that sounds, the Way Down Workshop actually worked. I mean, it didn't work as like a healthy dietary option. It's it's a nutritional horror show. But as a business that made Gwen a lot of money, I think it worked out great. And at the core of it was Gwen telling you that overeating wasn't just bad for your body, it was disobedience to God. In 1999, Gwen took all of her power as a weight loss guru and did the only logical thing for her to do. She opened a church, the Remnant Fellowship. But her diet church wasn't just for adults, it was for everybody. So to reach the little ones and convince them that overeating was a sin against God himself, Gwen made a TV show.
Welcome to Zion, kids. It's spring.
Y'all little chubsters ever heard of spring?
God wants us to love spring.
Does this sound like somebody that legitimately loves, let alone has ever thought about, nature?
You know, I've been outside all my life, looking at nature and watching it for the reason to find out about God.
Oh, well, yeah, you know, I've been to the outside place a lot in my life, and I really enjoy hiking and grass, and grass reminds me of God. God loves spring, y'all. I'm out. The whole thing is so bizarre that I keep forgetting to even make a joke about how insane her giant hair is, although, Jesus Christ, what is going on with that hair? But don't let the cutesy weekly themes fool you. Gwen had zero interest in teaching kids about spring or kindness or whatever the topic was. The entire show was just an elaborate delivery system for her propaganda that being overweight is a sign of sin, and also that you have to do whatever adults tell you, especially what Gwen tells you. I think what really annoys me most about Gwen is that she spends all of her time, both on and off this show, telling kids, it's all about God. When no, it's not all about God, it's all about Gwen. There's not a single episode of the show that's not chock full of close-ups on Gwen, talking about Gwen, teaching how Gwen lives and how Gwen prays and what Gwen eats. Her Kids Club website isn't even like a generous free resource hub for families. It's a place to buy $50 workshops and DVDs to stuff her pockets with. Or it used to be. In 2021, Gwen passed away in a private plane crash, and while the Remnant Fellowship has continued on without her, without Gwen, I just don't see how it can continue, especially with members of her own family denouncing the group. Maybe this is already apparent to you, but a lot of the cult entertainment we'll look at today isn't very good. Hyper-literal songs about always worshiping the leader, anime that encourages cult chanting. Later on, there's a whole dance instruction video made by a dangerous cult about smiling as hard as you can, no matter what horrible things are done to you.
Why should I show my trouble and woe? There's no future in it.
Yeah, that's coming later. Sorry. But as I said in the INC part, not everything that cults put out is hot garbage. A couple of groups have even realized that since modern kids' media is dominated by YouTube videos, TikTok shorts, and virality, if you're after the hearts and minds of kids, baby, you got to dance. Welcome to Hillsong. In 1983, Brian Houston started a church. Well, not a church. It was basically like 12 people in a rented-out classroom in Australia, but he called it the Hills Christian Life Center. And he had some help getting started from his dad, Frank Houston, who ran his own group. Make a little mental note of Frank Houston here. In a minute or two, he's going to be very important for crimes. But Brian Houston, as leader of his group, really wasn't satisfied with a small, tight-knit collection of local worshipers. He wanted to expand, to make it bigger, louder, marketable. And he did so by launching his own Christian record label, Hillsong Music. And it's hard to overstate just how popular Hillsong became. What started as a modest church band in Australia turned into a global worship powerhouse. Their songs filled arenas. They won a friggin' Grammy Award. They were huge. Huge enough that Houston decided to rename his own church to Hillsong. He absorbed his father's church into the group and created a new multi-megachurch, where criticism of him was treated like a threat to the institution. An institution that just kept growing with places of worship in 36 countries and nowadays a YouTube channel with over 10 million subscribers. It's only 9,710,363 more than I have. Ouch. But I still have more subscribers than Hillsong Kids. That's because Hillsong Kids channel really struggled to find its identity. For a long time, it was just a dumping ground for any content the group had used, like leftover recordings or concerts or commercials. But eventually, some absolute genius in the youth ministry realized we've got something way better to show people. Funny Man Dan. Each year, Hillsong ran a summer event for young members called KidSong, and each year, the event kicked off with an orientation video by the two hosts, Dave Wakerly and Funny Man Dan. There, the two of them would use questionably copyright-complacent parody music to introduce the rules of the KidSong camp, called the 3 T's. First, there's your group, or your tribes.
You know it's tribes.
By the way, I hope to God they try and copyright strike my video for using some of these clips. Y'all straight up using Disney characters and songs for a damn cult.
Number 1 is your tribe.
Did Disney sign off on this? Cause I bet they didn't. I bet they didn't, Funny Man Dan. Y'all want to go to war, Funny Man Dan? We'll go to f***ing war. But I like your videos, so I don't want to do that. Anyway, the next T is tickets.
My tickets don't jiggle, they fold.
No comment there. And finally, the real star of each of these, the toilet song.
If you need to go to the toilet, tell your group leader,
Look, I have a very sophisticated sense of humor. I know what I like. And two puppets or grown men in baby costumes singing about poop, that's what I like. Most recently, though, Hillsong Kids YouTube has gone back to their musical biblical roots with TikTok-y dance songs all about the Bible, which, I mean, yeah, all Christian music is based on the Bible, but no, Hillsong's Bible music is literally singing the Bible. They take a name of a verse from the Bible and then they sing the verse. That's it. For example, there's Psalm 92:13, which is a verse about being planted in the house of the Lord.
I'm planted in the house of the Lord.
Or Hebrew 10:35-36, which is about being brave. If you think I'm gonna run out of these, I'm not. I got a bunch more. Samuel 16:7. Hebrews 10:25. 1 Timothy 4:12.
First to the Jew, then the Gentile.
First to the Jew, then the Gentile has been popping up in my brain roughly 2 or 3 times a week for the last year, and it's not going anywhere. Unlike Brian Houston. Brian's downfall is a long and twisty story. The most popular pastor in America got caught cheating on his wife. That opened the allegations to financial misconduct, use of unpaid labor, manipulating members, and you'll like this one. One of the group's composers got cancer, wrote an inspirational Hillsong ballad about his experience fighting cancer, and then it turned out he didn't have cancer. Nice going there, buddy. Now, not all of this can or should be dropped at Brian Houston's feet. Hillsong's a very big group. Every group's got some bad apples. It's possible he wasn't even aware of these issues. Except it turned out Brian may have been hiding the worst apple of them all, his father, Frank Houston. For decades, Frankie had been taking advantage of younger members of the group, and when Brian Houston heard about this, he did investigate the allegations, he did kick his dad out of Hillsong, but he didn't report any of it to the police. He was cleared of any legal wrongdoing, but he didn't deny not going to the police, and all of this controversy caused Houston to resign. And while Hillsong hasn't collapsed in his absence, it certainly had its reputation crushed. For the happily unaware of you, this is The Family, started in 1968 in California by a washed-up Christian preacher named David Berg. Actually, when I was making this video, I got really nervous about whether or not I should even talk about The Family. For one, I covered them in my last video about cult entertainment, which got a little weird.
Kathy, don't go to the supermarket today. Don't go, Kathy, don't go.
But But if the only sin of this group was that they made music videos about the evils of supermarkets, that'd be fine. The real reason I'm hesitant to jump back into the family is that they're evil. They're just evil. They're the worst. Even in this video, which remember is a video about cults that target children with cartoons and puppet shows, even compared to those groups, the family floats alone in a boat on the lake of fire. They did terrible things to the younger members of their group, and I have to be careful about my phrasing here, but they evil, okay? And you'd think it'd be hard for a group like that to gather supporters, but David Berg, while yes, he was a monster, he was a clever monster. He offered them free food or shelter, and he presented his radical and ugly beliefs as rejections of societal norms, while pairing them expertly with cherry-picked biblical verses. But he best disseminated those arguments through his hundreds of publications, letters, books, songs, and, maybe most well-known, his True Comics comic book series. And nobody denies that some of these comics can be a little fun on the surface. For instance, Comic 341, which explains the scientific and technical means in which prayer works. First, you pray, "Oh Lord, please heal my little sister right now in Jesus' name, amen." Your prayer message beam then shoots up to the moon, which reflects the prayer. Jesus then converts your prayer laser into a healing magic spell, and boom, healing. I also like the comic about ESP. Science is really studying ESP now. Like people suddenly waking up the moment a friend dies and knowing they're dead. He's dead. Here, look, there's even an unseen bad spirit guiding them with ESP. I'm getting an answer. Yeah, it's saying, hey kid, you need to get the f*** out of this cult. But those fun if you ignore who made them comics are kind of the minority. Many of them were just instructional guides for members, teaching them how to do things like flirty fish. This was when female members would have to find a stranger, and the next morning you fish them, you recruit them, by giving them the weirdest Bible study pillow talk of their life. Good morning, handsome. I really had a lot of fun yesterday, but you know what's really fun? This guy. And as if that wasn't bleak enough on its own, Berg did something else almost as evil. Making kids dance in 90s style choreography videos. Like all the best dance instructional videos, it starts with 4 straight minutes of listing out the rules of having fun. But right around rule 10, the video starts getting super specific about things girls shouldn't do, like they shouldn't curl their hair. In fact, there's not 1, not 2, but 3 warnings about how hair curling is bad and against the teachings of the Bible, which, in my opinion, is all severely undercut when the girls show up and they've all got the damn hair curled. What was the point of those instructions? What was the point of all of this if you're just going to have them? It doesn't matter. Let's just get to the dances, which usually revolved around one thing: smiling no matter what. And, okay, I'll admit, that's pretty catchy. And the initial lyrics don't sound that bad at first. You know, hey, everybody smile, sure. But the songs are always peppered with little breakdown moments where they tell you why nobody cares about your problems and how you shouldn't bother the world with your terrible woes.
No one's fun to be around when their faces got a frown. No, frowning's a disgrace, makes the world a gloomy place.
And I don't know what's more offensive, that it's forcing kids to smile through hardship, or that the adults behind these dances legitimately thought young people would like this crap. All right, youths, we really need to show other kids how cool our group is. And you all know what that means. More penguin dances. All followed up with more songs about smiling when you're miserable. And look, it's no great secret why the family wanted kids to get up and smile through bad things. Ugh. Although some of their content was a little less obvious with the messaging, like the family's very own TV show, Let's Have Fun in Treasure Attic.
Come everyone to Treasure Attic, fun surprises are there for you.
Yup, it's real. Every episode of the show followed this guy, Uncle Jim, who lives in Treasure Attic with his mini puppet friends. In my favorite episode, his puppet puppy named Peepers is upset about the sound of rain, so the host does what he can to calm Peepers down, first by force-feeding him a cookie by surprise, and next he tells the story of his old friend, Snowflake the sheep. The story's based on a famous Christian parable about a shepherd that leaves his flock of other sheep to find one sheep that had gone astray, the message being, God forgives those who have lost their way. Treasure Attic's message, however, is that if you don't do exactly what the leader says, you're gonna fall off a cliff and beef it so hard you die. But don't worry, kids. Snowflake's not really dead. He's alive. See, if he was dead, he wouldn't have so much blood and be in so much pain. Do you see the point of the story, peepers? Actually, Uncle Jim, it just seems like a thinly veiled threat if I don't do what you say. That's right, peepers. That's right, peepers. That's right, peepers. Anyway, then Snowflake pops out of a box and the three of them start singing the multiplication tables.
3 times 3 is 9. Be loving, good, and kind.
Yeah, despite some decent production values, Let's Have Fun and Treasure Attic never quite cracked the educational puppet kids show formula that better shows like Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers did. To reach the audience, you're supposed to blend simple stories, calm voices, and cute characters. What? No, that's not you, polygamous Mormon pirate king of Beaver Island. You're look at you. Who could ever love you? I'm sorry, that was mean. I didn't mean to. Son of a bitch. There we go, you little bastard. Okay, so what happened to the family? Once police came after David Berg, he eventually fled to Portugal, where he would pass away. And although the family tried to rebrand itself as being less nightmarish and traumatic, spoiler alert, nobody's buying it, and the whole operation is circling the drain. A Korean preacher named An Sung-hong looked at the grand total of mainstream Christianity and decided every sect, every denomination, be it Catholic or Protestant or Mormon, everyone was wrong, and only he had decoded the real message. For example, he criticized wealthy, ornate churches, and mostly An taught that Christians should live modest, kind, humble lives focused on God. So far, nothing radical or unreasonable, but An also told everybody that Jesus was coming back soon and that An would definitely be there when Jesus came in the year of 1988. It was locked in. Tiny little hiccup with that plan, An dies before 1988. But An's followers weren't ready to pack it up yet, and soon a new leader appeared, Zong Gilja. Zong declared that An Sung-hong, who, don't forget, never claimed to be Jesus, was of course Jesus. Even better, she announced that she was sort of Jesus too. Not necessarily Jesus, but God, but like the woman half of God, adopting the title God the Mother. The living modest, humble lives dedicated to God stuff, that's not so important, but you better believe in God the Mother. Her group, the World Mission Society of God, still holds tightly to this belief system. However, former members have also alleged the church holds to emotional manipulation, cutting off friends and family, aggressively demanding donations, plus enduring its fair share of scandals and accusations of other cult-like wrongdoings. But you won't see any of that when you first walk through the door. No, as a new member, all you'll see is a relentlessly upbeat group of Christians who enjoy wholesome activities and community volunteering. But the longer you stay, the more you'll be subtly guided towards something deeper. Little pushes and nudges and reminders about how many times the word mother appears in the Bible, how maternal imagery shows up again and again. The Bible seems to point to some sort of, perhaps, divine feminine leader who's an 82-year-old Korean woman, maybe? And that's the same strategy they use in children's media. The church produces these soft, colorful animations packed with lessons like how to say I'm sorry, how to be a good friend, how to enjoy a sports day, videos that you could show to any Sunday school class around the world and there'd be nothing cult recruity about them. And yet, after watching a few dozen of these, you notice they all seem to be about moms. Who teaches the kid how to say I'm sorry? The mom. Who is the sports day with? Oh, it's sports day with mom. How do you learn to make up with your best friends? Ask your mother. My mom is like the moon. My mom is a superhero. Moms are umbrellas in the rain. My mom is a warm blanket. Moms are like the love of the sea. The mother is wise, the mother knows best, it's always the mom. But the point of these YouTube channels and online media platforms aren't to tell kids how great their moms are. It's once again conditioning kids to associate a motherly, maternal figure with the divine, with God the Mother. I'll admit, compared to some of the other groups on this list, the World Mission Society Church of God is hardly making the most egregious content, but it's worth being aware of the intention behind that kind of content, especially when connected to a group like this. Harun Yahya, originally named Adnan Akhtar, emerged in Istanbul in the 1980s, and Akhtar had two big passions: hating the theory of evolution and staring dead-eyed into TV cameras while surrounded by girls. Akhtar spoke on how evolution was a literal demonic plot, engineered by a who's who list of common conspiracy theory fodder: the Freemasons, the Communists, the Vatican, materialists, the British deep state, and like so many other conspiracies created by morons, Akhtar brought it all home to Jewish people. His earliest works were a poorly organized collection of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, all dressed up like pseudo-Islamic scholarship, although with very little support from most Muslims. In fact, in 1986, he was institutionalized due to his constant ramblings and untreated schizophrenia. He later claimed that was all like a political hit job, and that he's not crazy. He's not crazy. You're crazy. And hey, that could all be true, but it's also kind of the thing you'd expect from a mentally ill conspiracy theorist trying to build a cult. Which Akhtar did. Akhtar changed his name to Harun Yahya and then began his cult, also named Harun Yahya, which I'm sure won't get confusing to explain. So Yahya, the man, bought and starred in his own television channel, A9 TV, where he surrounded himself with Harun Yahya, the cult, not the man, who would talk about how wonderful Harun Yahya, the man, was, and that everyone should join Harun Yahya, the cult, and maybe the man. Basically, Harun Yahya was a deeply controlling cult where followers were encouraged to cut ties with outsiders, and female members had to maintain strict celibacy, except with Harun Yahya, again, the man, obviously. For a little more icky trivia, Harun referred to these women as his pretty kittens. In addition, followers were required to read Yahya's giant piles of writings and published material, like his 870-page masterpiece, The Atlas of Creation, Volume 1. By the way, for reasons I will never be able to explain, I chose to buy my own copy of this book, The Atlas of Creation Volume 1, for 86 actual US dollars. Real currency out of my pocket, and I'm so disappointed to tell you, it's okay. There's a lot of really gorgeous photos and illustrations. It's organized really nicely. I kind of like it. I mean, don't get me wrong. The book is nothing but 1,000 pages of bad faith, bad research, anti-evolution, young Earth creationist gibberish, and the science is all over the place. Like, he tried to pass off a fishing lure as a prehistoric fossil. Hey, Harun Yahya, you can see a metal hook, buddy, but it's still a fun read. It's not really for kids, though. No, if you want to convince children about anti-Semitic, anti-evolutionist theory, you gotta get on the internet. Leading us to Harun Yahya's magnificence. Kids, this site is all yours. Kids, what would you like to see in a site that belongs totally to you? That's hosted and made by a 60-year-old man. Through this site, you might like to realize the power of God who created you, your mother, your father, your friends, everyone, all the animals, all living things, the earth, the sun, the moon, and the entire universe. Paw emoji, paw emoji, paw emoji, Dalmatians. Back on the homepage, we learn that there's sections for the human body, for some animals, evolution is a lie, a picture gallery of random stuff, and a plagiarized picture of Reader Rabbit Adventures. There's also some flash games. Welcome to Harun Yahya's Jumping Spider. Oh, hey, I can do a little spider dance. Not sure what this has to do with evolution, but hey, spider dance. I'm a happy little spider. Holy shit! I didn't say to do that, spider. Whoa! This is way harder than I thought it would be. First, the controls are all on like a delay, and I lost. You have not proved yourself to be as successful as a jumping spider. Okay, Harun. All right, run it again. See? This time I know what I'm doing. Okay. All right. Oh, it's cool. It's cool. This is a good one. This is a good run. This is it. God damn it! Nice. Yes. Oh, I didn't know you could, I can't, wait, I went off screen and am I just dead? Does this game have permadeath? Yeah, laugh it up, asshole. Harun, no! Harun, stop it, please! I'm a happy dancing spider. God, this game sucks. And I think God agrees with me, because as divine punishment for all of this, he sent Harun Yahya to jail forever. And I mean forever. He's currently serving the equivalent of like 120 consecutive life sentences. But you never know. Maybe he'll be out for good behavior by 3025. Well, kids, did you learn something fun today? Kids? Yeah, they're gone. Okay. And honestly, that's fair. I don't really know what we can take away from this stuff either. And the truth is, I struggle to write this conclusion because I'm conflicted about cults entertainment made for kids. I mean, I'm not conflicted about the cults themselves. They're often dangerous and manipulative. That part's clear. What I'm conflicted about are the people inside these groups making the content. Leaders like Harun Yahya or David Berg, yeah, they're easy to condemn, but a lot of the others, they're usually regular members, indoctrinated like everybody else, believing they're contributing something positive. And that right there, that's where my issue is. How should we think about the members who make this media? Are they victims? Are they perpetrators? Are they both? Are they neither? I don't have an answer, and maybe there isn't one, but I want to open this question up to you. And I promise I will read every comment on this video, and when I find answers that I think are insightful or offer a nice perspective, I'll add them to my pinned comment at the top so other people can see them. So let me know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want one, please go buy one of my, my polygamous Mormon Pirate King of Beaver Island plushies. They're really not so bad if you have a cage to put it in. Lovely. Oh, and another thanks to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video, coupon code PaperWill. They were one of the chillest sponsors I've ever worked with. I actually really like the mask that I bought. It's actually, like, fantastic. Finally, and as always, thanks to Paul Rohrbaugh, Jacob, Noah, Eric, and Julia. Thanks to my Patreons, or my Patreon, whatever you call the people who are on Patreon who are willing to give me their money for these weird little videos I make. Seriously, thank you very much. Anyway, thank you for watching. I don't remember if I was supposed to say something else. If I was, I'm sorry. I love you. That's too much. That was too much. Okay, good night.